First, we want to talk to someone who is new in their role. We want to talk to the new CEO of Loretto Hospital, president and CEO of the hospital. The hospital had its own share of issues, but we have new people at the helm now, and with us is Tessa Anowishki, who is joining us. Did I get it right? Anowishki.
Yeah.
I was so close.
You were close.
Yeah, I try to make sure I get those names right every time. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out this morning to speak with us, because this is a fresh start for the hospital, and it's no doubt that you want to put out there that there is a fresh start there. Let's first start with telling us about your background.
I've been at the hospital for 15 years. I've served in several capacities. I came on as marketing. Marketing was my background, and so knew data analytics and behavior, and so came on to start the marketing department. That led to me taking on community relations, led to community, our clinical outreach team, and then I took on fund development and our foundation, and so served in several capacities. And prior to this appointment, I served as the VP of development for the hospital and executive director for the foundation.
So you've been in every aspect.
Yes, I have.
So let's talk about Tessa.
Sure.
A few years ago when Loretto was kind of in the headlines, maybe not for the greatest things. What had happened? What now has changed since then?
Oh, so much has changed. First, leadership has changed. Although our mission is still the same, leadership has changed. We've brought on several compliance officers, a new chief financial officer, human resource officer. We've built a stronger level of oversight within the organization, so we have new internal controls. We fixed some of our broken and fragmented systems, and really engaged more and differently with our board of directors. And so they're very much involved in the day-to-day and just wanting to turn the hospital around, because it's so important to the Austin community, and we want to make sure that we're here for another 100 years.
What do you tell people, because one of the things that I know is hard is once people have something in their mind bad, it's hard to kind of turn that for good. What do you tell the community? I know you didn't do this. You weren't a part of, some of what was alleged with his former CEO and the COVID and the stealing and all this other stuff. But what do you tell people to kind of shift their mindset now?
Oh, when we talk about the importance of the hospital in terms of addressing healthcare disparities, on the west side of Chicago, it's a 20-year difference between 7-minute drive from the West Loop to the west side of Chicago. And so we talk about the importance of the work that the hospital's done over 100 years. Yes, there was this blip in the radar through those past incidents, but we have come a long way. We have done a lot of good in 100 years, and we want to be focused on the present and the future, and not the past. That will not be our legacy. We have an amazing team at the hospital that is really committed to serving the community and making sure that we're addressing healthcare disparities and that individuals have access to care. And so we really talk about that commitment of the staff. Most times when a ship is sinking, people tend to jump off, especially when the ship is now vertical. And our team ran to the other side. They balanced the boat out. They bought us some time to help really fix these things. And so we have an amazing team of committed nurses and doctors and techs and everyone. So I focus on the work that we're doing, that the mission is still the same.
I was going to ask that because, yes, you hear about maybe how hurt the community is, but it's different with inside the hospital, you being there, as a different position. You've seen that change, so you still have those loyal folks on your side, making sure things are getting done.
Absolutely, and you have to address how they're feeling, how the team is feeling, right? I think that was a surprise. I think we were all let down. I was a peer at one point, and so I understood, but we first had to address that trauma, right? And then we wanted to talk about who we wanted to be as an organization and how we wanted to present and grow in the future. And so we focused on that. We turned the tide, that's behind us, and let's focus on the future.
Being that you were with the hospital as long as you were before this position, were you always eyeing this job, or was this a situation where after seeing all this bad stuff, you're like, well, heck, I could do this too, and I'd be better at it because I've seen so much? How did you find yourself in this role?
So the board board of directors had reached out to me. They really wanted someone who had time and tenure and really understood the inner workings of the hospital. And having served in so many capacities in the hospital, it was a natural fit when they asked me would I do it. Of course, I was surprised, and I was like, me? But I knew I could do it. My family has been in social service for over 50 years, and so my call to serve is based on my family, my faith, and my lifelong call to service. And so I immediately jumped at the opportunity, and even though it was a challenging time, I knew everyone on a very different level, and I knew we had committed people, and I knew that we could definitely change things for the hospital.
I love that.
You know, I will say, you know, even though it's been years since some of these headlines came out, you know, you guys have been working through this for a while. Even truthfully, Tia and I, you know, when I let us know, like, all right, this is going to be the interview that we have, we're like, oh, really? That's interesting. Like, they're going to talk to us about this.
Yeah.
And you know, that means that you guys are, you know, holding yourselves accountable, talking about what's new and fresh. Are you feeling like people are being receptive to this new information, like things have changed?
Oh, absolutely. Our volume has increased, and a lot of our team goes out into the community. We take the time to get to know the community, to tell them who we are now and share some of the wonderful things that we've done over the past 3 years in terms of bringing service lines to the community that bring value to the community and that helps address those healthcare disparities. And so it's a wonderful time for us. And I think, you know, we're definitely on the right path, and we're looking forward to the next 100 years.
I must ask you, because I know we're talking positive, but in this new phase that you're in, there has to be some challenges. In everything, there's challenges. What are some of the challenges?
I think some of the challenges is, one, you have to face with the fear, right? When we're talking about all of these proposed Medicaid cuts, and you hear a lot of other organizations talk about potential layoffs or service cuts or even closures. I don't want to focus on that, because that further exacerbates the healthcare disparities in vulnerable and at-risk communities. And so we focus on how do we bring service lines into the community that bring long-term value. And so I challenge the staff to say, hey, we deserve to be here, and so let's work together. And I think fear is a great part of that, because you hear it every time you turn on the TV. It's something new, it's something different with cuts, with the snaps. And so we were saying, how can we be a part of the solution? And so I really try to turn the tide for the staff in terms of, let's focus on the positive and the mission that we're here to do in terms of our addressing food insecurities with our food pantry and our soon-to-be first hospital-based free grocery store in Illinois in the spring. How do we talk about our women's center? We brought on a renowned surgeon who has really helped us in terms of bringing on commercial payers to the hospital, because funding and support or dollars is always a challenge for safety nets. And so we look at things through a very different lens. I don't want to focus on the negative and what's being, you know, purported just, you know, out there about all of these changes that are coming. Let's focus on how we build sustainability for this hospital.
Yeah, well, you definitely had some challenges even within the last, you know, 6 months with the federal funding cuts, right?
Yes.
And I think I remember seeing you guys in some of our news stories that we did too. How has it been, you know, since the funding has, you know, been restored? I mean, still navigating and kind of trying to rework things?
Oh, absolutely. You know, safety net hospitals have always operated lean. We have no choice. Loretto Hospital serves an 84% Medicaid population. So when you talk about cuts, and so let me, you know, for an example, we get paid on average 32 cents on the dollar. So we knew we had to be innovative on how do we create sustainability to reduce our over-reliance on the state and federal funding, and how do we do that? We know that we can do that by bringing in more commercial payers and really partnering with some of the larger institutions with some of the capacity issues. No one should have to wait 3, 6, 9 months for a diagnostic test when you have your safety net partners out there in the community that are just extremely valuable and that can really lend an effort so that we can get people treated faster and improve the overall quality of life for everyone.
Tessa, when I look at you, one of the things I think of is over the years, of covering news and talking to CEOs of hospitals, they're always I'm always talking to a guy. I feel like I'm always sitting, oftentimes, or it's a male. Are you the first female in this role, or have there been women before?
No, there has been one other female president and CEO of Loretto Hospital, but I am the first African American and Native to serve as president and CEO for Loretto Hospital.
Got it. Congratulations to that. That is a huge honor.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to ask you, are you born and raised in Chicago?
I am born and raised. I'm a South Sider, but I live in the South Loop. But I was born and raised on the South Side of Chicago. I am a West Sider now. I've been there 15 years, and so know the community well. Have very meaningful partnerships and relationships in the community. So I'm a dual citizen, if you will.
Well, the reason why I ask that is because I think that I find oftentimes that people that come from the outside, they sometimes don't understand the real issues.
Sure.
But when you're born and raised, especially in a city like Chicago, you know, the South Side is different from the West Side. They're in the same city, but they're very different. The South Loop is different from the General Loop. So that's why I asked that question, because understanding the dynamics in your job is a challenge if you're not from here.
Absolutely. And so I think it started when my background is marketing and behavior, right? And so we get to learn one another. It's the cultural transformation that has happened within the organization, that we had to really say that we're all on the same team. It's a work in progress. It takes time, but when you're focused on the work and the mission, you get buy-in easier and faster, as long as you include all of your team as part of the process. No one is greater than the other. We are all equal in this work to serve.
You know, I'm curious to know more about your staff, because I mean they've been through a lot, like with you. You know, who are some of the people on your team? Are they from Chicago as well? Are they from the West Side community? Are they commuting in?
Oh, yes, a lot are from Chicago. I brought back a couple of people that were there in my earlier years and had moved on, but I knew their work ethic. I knew that they would serve as a benefit to the hospital, and so we brought some of those individuals back. But most of all of our individuals in our executive leadership team are from Chicago. Most are women, and we do have a couple of men. Not to say that we don't discriminate, not whatsoever, but we've had some amazing people that have reached out and wanted to be a part of an organization and this organizational shift in the community.
I want to ask you, in terms of, in your mind, right, we're rolling into 2026, top 3 things that you feel like you need to accomplish. I'll start with 3 in the year 2026 for you in the hospital.
One is the financial sustainability, right? You just never know what's going to happen with the Medicaid cuts, so we have to plan. But we have to plan so that we can continue to serve those that are most vulnerable and need us the most. And so how do we build financial sustainability? One is workforce development. I believe I am a product of having grown throughout the organization, and it is important to myself and the rest of our executive team that everyone has the opportunity to grow within the organization. A lot of times we find that people are in positions out of necessity, but not what they dream for themselves. So how do we invest into our team so that they can grow within the organization and be the best of who they want to be for themselves? And 3, oh goodness, how do we reimagine our campus? I think that we have to seek meaningful investment in our safety net hospitals, in Loretto Hospital, that investment is the antidote to communities in crisis. We know that social determinants of health really is the antidote to communities in crisis. We know that social determinants of health really haven't changed over the years. I think we need to look at those not just as I don't have gas or I don't have a transportation, but I may not be able to afford gas for my car. So we have to look at those things differently, and how do we collaborate with some of the amazing organizations in the community different, so that we are building a campus where no one would have to walk, more than 500 feet to get the services that they need.
Well, even this grocery store, I mean, that's pretty incredible. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You said in the spring it should be open?
Yes, so we have a partnership with Greater Chicago Food Depository, and so we'll be opening our the first free hospital-based free grocery store in Illinois in the spring.
That's exciting.
Yes, it's amazing because, one, we started with our food pantry about a year and a half ago, or two winters ago. And we did that because, you know, we knew we needed to address the food insecurity, but when we were putting out the dry goods or the canned goods, we recognized the individuals that were coming in need were hungry right now. So we quickly pivoted to individual packaged meals, so you can come in and grab one if you're hungry. One, we know that not does it only address the food insecurity, but those that are in recovery, it helps support recovery as long as they have access to food and they're not hungry. The data shows that it helps you know, improve that process. But so then we knew that we still needed to address the overall families in the community that were challenged with food insecurity on a day-to-day basis, and how do we do that? And so our Chief Impact and Strategy Officer said, you know, Polly Gates, she said, we need to do this. And so we created the partnerships, and we were able to get that locked in, and so we're planning for that now.
I love that. And they do some really great work, the Greater Food Depository.
Oh, they do.
Yes,
yeah,
they really do.
We actually have a mission to help them right now, actually, on our website, so you can check that out.
Okay, so you weren't expecting this. Gabby wasn't either. But I figure it can't be all, you know, serious. We gotta have
okay,
fun.
I like to have fun.
Okay, so we're gonna play a little this or that with you, if you're okay with that. Okay, so Illuminati's or Giordano's?
Illuminati.
Okay. Harold's, because you're on the west side, or Uncle Remus?
Uncle Remus.
You love that flavor. Okay, stepping or footwork?
Stepping.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
And Jennifer Hudson or Shaka Khan?
Oh,
that's a hard one.
Now that was just wrong. Well, I have a quick bet. My mom used to babysit Shaka Khan.
No. Wow.
I think younger.
Wow, that's incredible.
Her aunt is one of my my mother's friends. So I would say Shaka, just because I gotta honor that relationship.
Okay, and here's my last one. I just came up with this. This is the wild card question. Common or Kanye?
Common.
Okay, I figured.
Southsider. Common, yes. Yes, Common.
Kanye's too controversial anyway.
Yes.
I could understand that.
Yes.
Well, thank you for playing along.
Thank you.
And congratulations in your new role. I mean, that's some big shoes to fill, but it sounds like you're more than prepared for it.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and the opportunity to share all the wonderful things we're doing, and more great things are coming. So
we will have you back.
To talk about that grocery store.
That's
for
incredible.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll be right back with comedian Jim Flanagan.